today. We're going to be in Exodus 14, 1 through 18. The Lord will fight for you. And I think in this crowd I probably could have gotten away with the original title to this sermon, but I was encouraged otherwise. And it was basically quit griping and start doing it. Not necessarily in those words. But this is Cowboy Church, and I think it'd been all right. Because I think sometimes we hear that while we're at work, while we're working with cattle. I'm sure you've heard plenty, haven't you? Quit griping and get on with it. Right? Get to work. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites to turn back and encamp near Pi-hahiroth, between Migdol and the sea. They are to encamp by the sea, directly opposite of Baal-Zephon. Pharaoh will think the Israelites are wandering around the land in confusion, hemmed in by the desert. And I will harden Pharaoh's heart, and he will pursue them. But I will gain glory for myself through Pharaoh and all his army. And the Egyptians will know that I am the Lord." So the Israelites did this. When the king of Egypt was told that people had fled, Pharaoh and his officials changed their mind about them and said, "What have we done? We have let the Egyptians go and have lost their services." So he had his chariot made ready and took his army with him. He took 600 of the best chariots, along with all other chariots of Egypt, with officers all over them. The Lord hardened their heart of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, so that he pursued the Israelites who were marching out boldly. The Egyptians, all Pharaoh's horses and chariots, horsemen and troops, pursued the Israelites and overtook them as they camped by the sea near Pi-hahiroth, opposite Baal-Zephon. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone and let us serve the Egyptians'? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert." Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water so that Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground. I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go in after them, and I will gain glory through Pharaoh, all his army, through his chariots and his horsemen. The Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I gain glory through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen." I don't know if anybody just reading that can understand what's going on in our life right now in today's world. Right now, as Christians, we're living in a particular time where Christianity is under attack. Everywhere we go. But there are people out there that say they're just lost. They don't know the ways of this world. They don't know what's out there beyond the stars. They look at things that are you can't see, you can't necessarily hear them, right? And that's being naive, because I can see God and I can hear God. But then all of a sudden, what? We have to be prepared, right? What I mean by this, and follow me. So it says in verse 3 through 5, they said they're just wandering around in the desert. Okay? They had a change of heart. God said, "I'm going to harden their hearts so that they chase you." Right? Because in life, us Christians, sometimes we need to have people coming after us so that we can glorify God in what we're doing. Does that make sense? That we can glorify God. So people may, in the world we're living in, they may look at us and, "No, they're lost. They don't know what they're doing." Well, let's attack them. Right? Not necessarily let's go punish them, but let's attack them and let's attack Christianity. That's fine. that gives us an opportunity to stand up for God and say, yeah, come on, bring it on. Say whatever you want to say. I get this every day in my classroom. These boys that I teach have behaviors, and they try to get that one little thing. So you lose your integrity, right? So you lose your patience. So you lose your couth, right? And I'm aware of that. So it doesn't bother me. And I tell them, my God's greater than that. And that shuts them up. Because they don't want to argue with God. They want to argue with flesh. That's the people out there, right? That's the people that are with hardened hearts that are trying to come at you and follow you to attack you. And then what do you say? When you bring God to the battle, they want to fight the flesh. They don't want to fight God, right? They're scared of God. They're scared to be accountable. They're scared to be disciplined. They don't know what lies in store, and they're afraid of it. So they're taking after Pharaoh. His hearts are hardened. They will pursue them, but I will gain glory for myself through Pharaoh and his army, and the Egyptians will know that I am Lord. So the Israelites did this, right? When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his officials changed their mind about them and said, what have we done? So in your life today, their hardened hearts are going to chase after you. You're going to be shopping this Christmas. There's people that already taken, Christ out of Christmas. Merry Christmas. It's Happy Holidays. No, it's Merry Christmas. And then they start attacking, right? No. What makes you better? My God makes me better. I'm not saying you have to, but I'm going to show you what a Christian looks like, right? Isn't that what he's doing? He's saying, hey, I'm going to harden their hearts and I'm going to make them follow you so that God, receives the glory when it's proven that I am the Lord, right? And when you can't get into the store and you're like, hey, go ahead. Well, you're not rushing in? No, I'm not rushing in. Whatever's going to be there is going to be there when I get in there, right? They had a change of heart. We're not lost. But in order for them to have another change of heart, that's fixing to come in verse 18, right? They're going to actually see that they were wrong, that was God's people, that we are, as Christians, God's people. He's when you read this book, guys, when you read it with sincere hearts and you try to understand it, and you read a little further, it restates itself because God promises, He makes promises, and then He proves them, right? So you're going to find out in our life today, there are people that are denying the promise, that are hostile towards Christians, and they don't understand the promise, but God continues throughout the whole Bible to continue to prove the promises that He has in store for us. Over and over and over again, He tries to prove them to us. And we are the ones, I say not we, the unbelievers are the ones that ignore those promises because they're too busy focused on the flesh and materialistic things. So what happens? So he had his chariot made ready and took his army with him. He took 600 of the best chariots along with all the other chariots of Egypt with officers all over them. The Lord hardened the hearts of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, so that he pursued the Israelites who were marching out boldly. The Egyptians, the Pharaoh's horses and chariots, horsemen and troops, pursued the Israelites and overtook them as they camped by the sea near Pi-Hahiroth, opposite Baal-Zebulun. So, overtook. And sometimes we think about overtook, we think, well, they overtook them. So I wrote down there, it's a little definition of overtook, is they suddenly caught up with them. Right? Now, their hearts are still hardened. They're still in attack mode, right? But what does it say? It said he pursued the Israelites who were marching out boldly. They're not just, it isn't just, well, I'm just going to kick these rocks and kind of mosey on along, and, with no anxiety about you. There's nobody chasing us. We're just going to take a nice leisurely walk. I think they're saying, hey, we got a plan to go do, let's go do it, right? So marching out boldly is, hey, let's cover some ground, right? But what happens is when you cover ground and you think you're making some time, right? And you're on foot. And I wonder why he says he got the 600 best chariots of Egypt, and then he follows it up by saying, well, that's not enough, so I'm going to get all the other chariots from Egypt and with all the officers all over them, right? Why is that so important that it's not only the 600 chariots, but all the chariots? He's trying to make a statement. I'm bigger, I'm larger, I'm faster, I can do everything better than you can, and you can't walk fast enough before I can't catch you, right? And they walk boldly. So what happens when you're walking boldly and you think you're making some tracks, and you look back and all of a sudden you see some dust coming, you're like, man, I think about these old westerns, how long it takes the outlaw to run, and they're like, man, they've done made a couple of turns and down the valleys and up the hills, and they stop, and I'm like, okay, well, I know how long it takes to saddle horses, and I know how long it takes to catch the horses, right? But all of a sudden, they're like 2 minutes behind the outlaw. You're like, it takes me longer than 2 minutes to catch a horse and saddle him up and get him. That's like 600 people that round up some horses, right? So we don't know the time. I don't know the particular time period it took, but the fact is they were coming pretty fast, and they were making a statement. We're fixing to destroy you. We got everything that we need. We got all the officers in place, the smart people, right? That they know what they're doing, and we're heading that direction. Walking boldly. And so what happens when you're walking boldly and you see that cloud of smoke coming, and they're gaining on you pretty fast, right? All of a sudden, the worry sets in. What if we don't make it? We don't even know. We're just going. He told us where to encamp. Well, we're going to the camp, right? And then you start looking around you and you go, okay, well, there's a desert to my right, and there's the sea to the left, and there's Israelites coming, and there ain't no way to go. And all of a sudden, the worry sets in. The questioning sets in. Did I make the right decision? And who am I following? Right? So verses 10 to 11. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said, Moses, what have you done by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, leave us alone and let us serve the Egyptians? It would be better for us to have served the Egyptians than to die in the desert. I wrote down here, nation of Egypt is equal to the world system that we live in today. The Egyptians are hostile towards Christians. The Egyptians, they worship idols. The Egyptians oppress the believers. Made up of unbelievers against the people of God. Isn't that what we look at like today? The same thing. We're running. We're trying to follow God in everything that we're doing. But yet, we have people that oppose us, that are hostile to us, that oppress us, that we have to deal with people that worship money, materialism, right? That worship the TV, worship the radio, entertainment, media. We got all these things that we're just going, and we're like, okay, God, what do we got to do? We either go in the house and watch TV, we go outside, or we're stuck in town, and that's the desert, right? That's the wilderness in town, the wild part. That's in town. We got the country living out here, right? So what do? We're stuck, kind of, sort of, right? But God is fixing to do something miraculous in your life, right? You don't have to face the opposition, and you don't have to sit at home and quiet and worry. He's made a way for us. Spoiler alert, it's Jesus Christ. Okay? When I was reading this is like a movie. When I get into this story, it's like, man, we've seen the Ten Commandment movie, right? But to really dig into it and experience it like you can hear the rumbling thunder, and it's your heart starts pumping like, man, we got to go somewhere. Where do we go? The only place to go is in the desert or to the water. Okay? Why did you take us out of here? Why did you lead us out here? We're stuck. We're like sitting ducks out here. So you start questioning things. Growing up, you learn about character. Being a father, you learn about character with your kids and your grandkids and your people that you hang out with. And I put on here, true character. Verse 12. Didn't we say to you in Egypt, leave us alone? So what happens in difficult times? Do we return back to the old ways? Do we go back before becoming a Christian? And do we remain a slave to sin? Which is more important? That is our character. When the difficult times happen, when things start happening difficulty, you go, well, man, I sure had a lot of fun in them honky-tonks. I sure had a lot of fun doing all those things, chasing sin down the road, right? You don't call it sin, you call it whatever you want to call it, whatever your hang-up is, chasing that down the road. Well, is that better than being a Christian? I don't think so. I think you can have great fellowship and laughter and kindness and love as being a Christian. You can depend on people. You can tell people your prayers and they go, man, I know somebody and I can help you out with that. Or do you want to just go blow smoke because that's all that you're getting in the honky-tonks is a bunch of smoke. Right? A bunch of smoke and lights and dancing chickens, right? I had to put that in there. So, what I'm saying is what is your true character? When the time gets hard, when them boys, they start telling me about Jesus and they start trying to quote the Bible to me. This happened yesterday. Not yesterday, day before, we were talking. And one of the boys said something, and man, I wish I could remember. He said something about the Bible. I said, oh, you want to go there? Okay, let's go there. No, I don't want to go there. I was like, no, you opened it up. So he was saying something about we were all created equal, children of God. I said, oh, really? I said, okay. That's what it was. He said, we're all created equal in the eyes of God. And I said, yeah, that's right. I said, why are you here? I said, because the Bible also says to follow authority. So you can't do one without doing the other. You can't go about it both ways. And I said, we want to continue this argument? He's like, nope, I'm good. I don't want to talk about it no more. True character is what do you do when the chips are down? When the guy questions your Christianity. When the guy questions your integrity. When the guy opposes you and wants to fight you, that's when you say, no, I don't need to do that. You can have it. Whatever it is, you can have it. I don't need it that bad. Right? I'm a Christian. Don't forget that. That's the main part. I'm a Christian. You can have it. It's okay. And they go, well, what do you mean? That means I'm a Christian and God's going to provide for me. You can have whatever it is you're fighting about. And I'll pray for you. Right? That's true character. That's integrity. That's what happens when you're oppressed. Do you go back to the other ways? Hey man, you want to go? Man, let's go back road drinking. No, I'm okay. You want to saddle up and come ride with me out? I'll do that. You know, we don't have to have all the extracurricular stuff. Right? That's character. Well, yeah, let's go out, let's do that. And then all of a sudden you get caught up in it. And what? What does that mean? Sin gives birth to death, right? When you start doing little things, it makes the bigger things a little easier. But if you never do the big things, that stands for the Christian character in you, in your heart, to say, I ain't got to do that. I ain't got to do that. If you say that a few times, they'll stop asking. I promise. True character. These people here, sometimes we all fail. Sometimes we do fall back. Sometimes we're not that strong. We're weak. Our flesh is weak. And that's when you really got to get time with God and say, okay, God, I'm weak and I know it. And I know that you forgive me. I'm not that strong. And I'm gonna talk to you the whole way through. Just get me through it, whatever it is. Right? So what does he say? Verse 13. Moses answered the people, do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. Stand firm, you will see. What you're facing today, when you put your faith in Jesus Christ and in God, He will deliver you to whatever you're going through, and you will see it. You will see it, and you will never if you truly pray about it and say, God, I do not absolutely want to do this again, He will deliver you and say, you will never have to see it again. Right? Right there, I kind of paused for a minute when I was reading this, and I know it's really sincere that He is going to deliver you from your sin. But if I'm standing and there's a desert on this side, and there's the Gulf of Mexico on this side, and you're going, okay, wait a minute. Who's not going to see the enemies again? Either I'm going to be stuck in the desert, or I'm going to be drowning. So who's not seeing who, and why are we not seeing them? Right? So I think they knew that He said God's going to deliver you, and you won't see your enemies anymore. I'll take care of your enemies. And that what the next verse, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Okay? There's a time for prayer. There's a time to let God answer your prayers. To listen to what needs to be done. Right? The Lord will fight for you. He said, hey, stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. Stand firm and be still. Right? Say your prayers and be firm about them, and stand with your prayers and stand with God and let Him move in you, and He will fight for you. You need to be still. The promise, why do we doubt that? He said several times, do not be afraid, and yet we are still afraid to get out and invite somebody to church. We're still afraid to say prayers at dinner time and while we're in public, and we're still afraid to shout amen sometimes, and we're still afraid that people are going to look at us differently if they see us living life differently. He said, you will see the deliverance. As a Christian, as a follower of Jesus Christ, in Revelation He talks that we will see the deliverance. Right? We're not going to be here. We're going to be watching it from heaven. And we're going, I'm damn glad that I was in heaven. Right? Excuse my language. I'm really glad that I can see that from heaven. That I can say, man, look at that. All the people that I've talked to and all the people that I've reached that listened to the message that day, that accepted Jesus Christ as their Savior, are up here with me. And those people are looking at you going, whoo, man, I'm glad you said something. I'm glad I saw you praying. I'm glad you said a prayer for me. I'm glad you told me to come ride horses with you that day instead of going out that night. I'm glad that you spent time with me and prayed with me and cried with me and hugged me and loved me and showed me who Christ was. We cannot be afraid and stand firm in your faith. Then the Lord said to Moses, why are you crying out to me? Right? Time for prayer is over. Tell them to move on. Right? Tell the Israelites to move on. Prayer time is over. The enemy's coming and I've got to go to work, but I need you to work for you so that I can go to work. Right? Does that make sense? I need you to go to work for you so that I can work through you. Because there's big things fixing to happen. Raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea to divide the water so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground. I will harden the hearts of the Egyptians so that they will go in after them. And I will gain glory through Pharaoh and all his army, through his chariots and his horsemen. The Egyptians will know that I am the Lord when I gain glory through Pharaoh, his chariots, and his horsemen. Be a leader and take action. When God's will is evident, then act. Okay? Where are we going? When you see somebody raise their hand and the water starts to split, what do you think you need to be doing? Running. Right. And as soon as you hit where you think it's muddy and you got a firm stance, keep on going. Right? I think that's the most important part right there is why are you crying to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. That is my charge to you guys today. Is God is evident, and when He is working, move on. Okay? Pray for your own soul. Pray for eternity and say, hey, let me invite you to church. There's something different There's something out there differently waiting. Not just at this place. Let me invite you to Jesus Christ. Let me pray with you sometimes. It isn't just in this place. There's other places that are talking about Jesus and His works. I encourage you to seek out and say, hey man, you can either come to church with me, or you need to go find a church. Because it's important for you to move on. Quit praying about what church you want to go to and just go to them. Right? You're going to find that place that you enjoy. That place that you love. The place that you call home. The place that you come and see your friends and see family and go, man, it's always welcoming and it's warm, and we're small but we're growing, and you need to get on the ground floor, and man, God is just moving in this place. He's moving in my life, right? And I want each of y'all to feel the same way. Stop praying about, well, I don't really know if I want to go to this one or that one, and I've been to this one. Keep on going. There might be something that, just don't go one Sunday, go 3 Sundays. There might be something that interests you on that 3rd Sunday that they hadn't done before. I'm saying this here, if you've been coming to High Point, there's things that we've moved 3 times. But each move has been successful, I think, because we're gaining a tighter net. Our relationship with each other, our relationships with God, because we can talk to each other, we can listen to our prayers with each other, and we don't have to wonder who's that person way over on the other side of the building, and feel uncomfortable by walking way on the other side. And you can't escape out of this little barn, right? Not that you would want to, but sometimes we take the leadership. We are the Christians. Each one of you in this room are leaders. You are leaders. Who is following you? If you're standing at the edge of the sea and God's telling you, move on, who's behind you? Are you holding somebody up? Well, I don't know. That ground, it's still muddy. There could be some kind of animal that'll fly through that water wall, right? And come into here, and I don't know what's going to happen. I've never experienced this before. I've never experienced walking through the sea, right? Can you think of all the excuses? I just don't know what's on the other side. What's waiting for us on the other side? Are there Egyptians on the other side too? Or are we just going to stop in the middle and go, okay, well, we need to grab a shovel and start building an island because we can't get on either side, right? So all the excuses that come to light. But we have to follow Jesus Christ for our salvation. We have to seek out what's on the other side. We can't stay where the enemy is any longer. We can't pray for the enemy, put the devil behind me, put all this stuff behind me, but I'm going to stay right here where I'm at. I'm going to stay right here in this dark alley, and I'm going to wait till daylight comes. Right? No, you're not going to stay in the dark alley. You're going to get the heck out of there, right? That's kind of the same thing. You got a building on this side, and you're in the middle of the street, and you're like, well, that's a dark alley, and that's a bunch of enemies. And when you get to the dark alley, I'll be honest with you, I've been in a dark alley, and I ran through it to get to the other side as fast as I could.
Yeah.
Okay? That's where you're at today. Okay? Put your faith in God and let Him work. Run through it, whatever it is, but take God with you. Don't leave Him there. I mean, He's going to take care of your enemies. And I want to tell you this too, guys. When y'all get home tonight, I want you guys, I didn't want to spend all day on this particular passage, but I want you guys to read what God did. Finish reading just chapter 14. It'll take you about 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. I want you to read the rest. Now and it's so funny, this morning I got up. If you go just a couple more verses, I got up this morning and he said that he dropped the clouds down so thick that night that the enemy couldn't see. They couldn't see each other. And on the other side of the clouds was daylight. That's also another miracle. I mean, it was in the middle. When he dropped the clouds down, it became dark, and on the other side of the clouds, it became light. So they couldn't see into there. They couldn't see the enemy, right? And the enemy couldn't see who they were chasing. So I want you guys to, I was excited. I was like, man, I want to read this whole chapter. And I was like, no, they're not going to like that. But I encourage you to get in there and finish it up. And if you don't know the story, you can then contact somebody and read the story with them and talk about it. You know, hopefully Wednesday night we can continue the story, right? To let you know exactly what happens. They did make it to the other side, right? And the enemy was destroyed because what? Because God promised. And when God promises, He doesn't break the promise. It's the truth. And the other thing, the Egyptians, they soon found out how glorified, is that a word? How glorified God is. How capable He is about destroying your enemies. Destroying the bad habits. Everything that you think that is bad, He is capable of taking those and removing them out of your life. And I tell the boys in my class, I tell them, hey, choose your friends wisely. You can't gain understanding and continue to hang out with the same people you're hanging out with. You're going to do what they do. So why not hang out with Christians and do what Christians do? But if you hang out with the irreputable people, the bad folks, and you're like, man, I really want to get good, and what are y'all doing tonight? That's not the way to do it. It's, I want to get good. Hey, you coming with us tonight? No, I'm staying home tonight. I'm going to go over here. And take a little bitty step. If you're not comfortable, talk to somebody. Call somebody on the phone. Text them. Are you placing your heart on Him? Are you placing your heart on God? Are you continually, or are you continually asking what to do? There's a lot of times that I sit there in my earlier, when I was younger. I'm talking younger, when I was 18, 19. And I would pray, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? And after talking to Sheila several times, it became evident that there were opportunities to become a minister. I wasn't focused enough on what God had intentions for me to do. So I didn't know that He wanted me to become a minister. But after our conversations, it's like, oh, you talked to this lady, and you talked to this guy, and you saved this guy's life when he was drunk on the living room floor. And you're talking to him about God at the same time. Why don't you become a minister and minister for me? Well, when life gets in the way and you're not being led and you're hanging out with the crowd you think's having all the fun, that's how Satan distracts you from the good stuff. You know, I continually ask, what do you want me to do? Isn't that a joke sometimes like that about the guy sitting on the roof in the flood? And the flood comes and he's like, God, just save me, just save me. And the guy that comes up trenching through there, hey, we need to get out. No, God's going to save me. Right? And then the flood gets higher and the guy on the boat comes by, hey, jump in the boat. No, God's going to save me. And the flood gets higher and the guy sitting on the roof and the guy in the helicopter comes by and says, hey, hop on the ladder, I'll carry you out here. No, God's going to save me. All he had to do was move one time. But he chose to stay where he was at. Didn't turn out too good. That was supposed to be a fun-hearted joke. It turned out bad. Do you want to be completely redeemed? What does that mean, redeemed? These Israelites were completely redeemed because the enemy was completely removed. In the world we live in today is a little bit different. In the world we live today, we can say we are completely redeemed, but the problem is the enemy, Satan, the devil, is still out there, and he's not completely removed. Only when Jesus Christ comes back will he be completely removed. And are you going to be removed with him, or are you going to see the deliverance? And are you going to be the one redeemed? That's a deep question that you probably need to ask your friends and your family and your loved ones and everyone. At some point in your relationship, that question needs to be asked. Not because you're not because you're crying out information. It's because you love them and you care for them and you want to see them in heaven, right along your side, like a nice and easy ride, right? How do you gain redemption? You gain a little faith by listening. And are you acting on what you heard? I didn't. For a long time I was listening and I had faith. I was saved. I was born again and I was saved. And I'm like, yeah, God, I know you're there and I prayed to you, but are you waiting for Him to say something? Right? That's the faith. Is, well, you can't see God. Oh yeah, I can. Well, you can't hear God. Yeah, I can every morning. When you speak, I hear God. Right? Because you are His child. Now what I hear, sometimes I hear amens and I hear hallelujahs and I hear, man, that's good stuff, and that's God. You know, I'm acting on what I hear, because that's God. And then when I hear, you know, a little bit of Satan in there saying, hey, I don't, you know, cuss him here and really belligerent here, then you start understanding where God is, who you can minister to, who you can identify that's leaning in, and who you can identify that is closed off, and where do you need to go to be sharing God's Word, right? So I encourage you this week to read the rest of chapter 14. I encourage you to not just stay in your prayers, but there may be something that you're praying about. You know, go a little bit of time. Go just take a little bit of step forward. Don't jump off the deep end. You know, don't just jump out there with a bull. Kind of get out there with a flag first and see what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
But you're still doing something. You're not just standing at the fence line being, I wonder what that bull would do if there's something that, you know, something flew around him. Well, get a flag and maybe throw a rock out there with him or something. You know, at least you're doing something, right? At least you get out there on a horse or something and be active. That's what the Scripture's all about, is how do you apply it? You know, not just praying about it, but how do you apply the prayers? Well, Lord, I really need this. And well, if you really need it, then show me that you really want it. Go do something. Go do something about it. Right? We talk about, and I'll finish up with this, we talked about the ABCs. Right? Anybody know what they are? Admit, believe, commit, and D. What's D?
Do it.
Do it. Alright? You admit that Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. You believe that He died on the cross for you, arose in 3 days. Then you commit your life to being a Christian. Then what? Continue to pray about all those things, or you what? You do it. Right? Alright. Or I'll take you out in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, I just thank you for this time that we can come together. Dear Lord, we're in this house together, that we got up this morning and we did it. We got out, we came to church, and we listened to your word, and we listened to your music, and we listened to the words that you're speaking into our hearts and our minds and our souls. Dear Lord, I just ask you to continue to be with us as we go along and we share your word with others. Dear Lord, that we're doing it for you, that we are human doing, not a human being. Lord, I love you so much. I thank you for all your many blessings. I thank you for every soul that's in this house today, that's in this hay barn. Lord, it was said that it's good for you, it's good for us. We love you and we thank you. I just pray you continue to watch after us and lead us and guide us and protect us. In Jesus' name, amen.